Mon cours se recommande à vous, tout plein d'ennui et de martyrs, en moins un dépité jaloux. Faites qu'à Dieu vous puisse dire. My heart is still offered to you, even now full of woe and despairing. Do not be untrue to my constancy. Say one farewell and allow me to go. I freely confess that is not mine, but a very wonderful friend of mine wrote that piece and allowed me the liberality of translating it. So I wanted to share it with you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Culture in Maine. I am your traditionally accepted host, Carla Christopher, York City's Poet Laureate and lover of all things arts and culture in York and the surrounding areas. And we have a great episode for you today. We caught up with Femi the Dryfish, who's an incredible Baltimore poetry fusion music spoken word artist who gave one of the most inspiring interviews I've done in a while. We also got to talk to Indian Summer Jars, who are one of the most iconic York bands. Their folk music, their songwriting, it's incredible. On top of that, we have indie artist James Tompkins, who uses found objects from the York area, all local, to create some of the most detailed art that you will ever see. It's wonderful. And we have another Baltimore friend of mine, Sonia Renee, who did an incredible video for us. So make sure to check that out too. But first, let's hear some of the incredible music of the Indian Summer Jars.
Yeah, come on and just make love to me. That ain't a way to make anything. That ain't a way to make anything real. I don't mind, that's the way to feel. That's the way it's gonna be. Oh, what I get for a minute of your time, what you take for a minute of mine. You stalemate in an honest crime. We stand still, both get nothing. Both get nothing this time. Being alone ain't half as good as being with you. Ain't half as good as being in love. Being in love ain't half as good as being with you. Ain't half as good as being in love. So it takes more time to deliver it. Talk our minds into seeing the same thing. Separate till we both get alone. Separate till one of us breaks. You turn right back around. What I get for a minute of your time, what you take for a minute of mine. A true stalemate and an honest crime. We stand still, we both get nothing. Both get nothing this time. Being alone ain't half as good as being with you. Ain't half as good as being in love. Being in love ain't half as good as being with you. Ain't half as good as being in love. ain't half as good as being with you. Ain't half as good as being alone. All right, so that song was a little bit about the back and forth of relationships. So that's why it's called Honest Crime, because you know, if you're doing something wrong but you don't know it, I guess it's honest. It's kind of where that title came from. We're going to do a new one of ours. This one's called Alive. It's about standing firm in your own shoes and being happy with who you are. Those are two very important things. There's a world like ours. Don't you wanna know it's me? From the here looks like a star. It's not what it seems. You say you wanna go there someday. In your mighty place, it's somewhere far away. Somewhere out of reach. And reach with your arms crossed, hide, see you with your eyes open wide, and leave it to them, your peace of mind. Be the one that you wanna find alive, alive. I was a stone's thrower in that big glass house. Was the old world. I was a losing ground. But the night gets colder when you're walking alone. I need someone to be strong. Believe I thought I would. And reach with your arms crossed, hide, see you with your eyes open wide, and leave it to them, your peace of mind. Be the one that you wanna find alive, alive. Reach with your arms crossed, tight, see you with your eyes open wide, and leave it to them, peace of mind. Be the one that you wanna find alive, alive. And it's about letting someone move on or leave your life, letting people come and go, and still holding them in your heart. It's called Wooden Heart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last train leaving. such your wooden heart, Daddy. 'Cause I already said your wooden heart, such your wooden heart, Daddy. Who will build this bridge? Who will raise it high? Questions came in the same way raised for you and I. And it proves the water deep spans river wide. Your heart and soul with the sun up high, we're gonna watch it rise. 'Cause I already said your wooden heart, said your wooden heart, Daddy. Please, 'cause I already said your wooden heart, said your wooden heart, Daddy. Please. Cause I already said your wooden heart, said your wooden heart, Daddy. Please, 'cause I already said your wooden heart, said your wooden heart, Daddy. Please.
I'm here with the band members of Indian Summer Jars. However, as much as they come together as one in musical amalgamous harmony, they are individual singer-songwriters and musicians of their own right. So let's just go down the line for all those 3 people in the county that are not yet aware of your famedom. those few rock dwellers who are not Indian Summer Jar groupies at this point. Why don't you guys just go down the road, introduce yourselves, and tell all of our people about how you got started in music and what brought you into the Indian Summer Jar experience.
I'm Sarah Beth, and
Sarah Beth!
SB. I've been playing guitar since I was 8, and
Wow.
always been a writer. Always have written poetry and song, and yep. So I'm
Poetry.
we have a fellow poet here. And then I met Sarah King just playing music out up at Appalachian Brewing Company in Harrisburg, and we have formed this thing that has become the great Indian Summer Jars, and just a lot of co-writing and a lot of hard work that we put into it.
Yes. She totally gave away who you are.
I did.
I'm Sarah King, and
Still exciting.
Yeah.
It was still exciting.
I'm a performer. I've always been a performer. There's a video of me singing Bruce Springsteen songs into the camera tripod when I was like 5 or 6. So I was really into theater. I've always been into singing. I did all of the choruses and district chorus and honors choir and all that stuff in high school and middle school. Yeah. And then I actually I majored in theater initially in college, and then I was like, I probably should do something that I'm going to gain some more practical skills. through.
So you decided to be a singer to take the practical choice.
It took a while to hone in on what I wanted to do. So I took private voice lessons for 5 years when I was in college, and it wasn't through my college, but she kind of said, you should learn how to play guitar so that you can support yourself as a singer, because I thought I wanted to do musical theater. And then she told me all about what that was really like. And I said, I'd like to march to the beat of my own drum. It's much better to be your own
As
boss.
opposed to being the fourth candlestick from the left in the Beauty and the Beast on Ice tour.
Yes.
That's a good
Exactly.
comparison.
Yeah.
It would still be fun to be the candlestick.
It kind of would. Still.
Light me up.
Light it up!
My name is Kelly McLean, and I've been playing drums probably since I was 2. My father realized I had a beat whenever I would just like tap.
You were born with the beat.
A spoon. Well, he was a drummer, and my brothers are drummers, and everybody that I've been around, there's always been drums around the house.
I live in a drum commune. I
Pretty
had
much
nothing
like,
but
you know, I was
drums
probably
everywhere.
born during a drum circle, but
Or conceived during one, maybe.
you never know. You never know. But he's pushed me to get lessons, and I sort of, you know, as the rebellious teenager, I didn't, but should have. It wasn't until I got out of high school and did other things, and then I started playing out more, and just, you know, as most drummers in New York, they don't have just one thing going on. It's 30, which they found me at a festival, and I filled in with them, and then it was like this one week where they actually needed to fill in for 5 gigs, and
Look, at this point, you're just filling in so much. We've just decided to adopt you and suck you
actually
in.
that's pretty much it. That's how it happened, and I just sort of filled in, and then we recorded an album, which actually you're holding in your hand. We recorded Catalyst. Like I was 2 weeks into the band, and we had like 8 rush rehearsals to get it done, and then there's your album. It sounds great.
Which they are fabulous, I must say.
Yes.
Catalyst, similar. Just saying.
And here we are today.
Wow. And here you are today, just fresh off a box lunch review gig, shows booked all the way up through August, and now you're hiatusing. What's going on with that? What's that about?
Well, I should take that because that's all my fault.
It's you! You're the one!
It is. It's because I'm moving to Pittsburgh, and I can't convince the other 2 to go. So I'm going back to school full-time, actually, to study speech pathology. So
The practical career of singer-songwriter.
you know, it's a great career prepared for someone like me that's already a performer, that's had all the vocal training. I work for early intervention now, so I monitor speech therapy services for infants and toddlers. Wow. So I've gotten to kind of watch and see how that works, how that whole position works for the last 3 years. Before that, I worked with other children that were school age, and I've kind of worked with all different populations. I've worked with adults with disabilities as well. So to kind of go into that field, it just sort of makes sense to, you know, get more financial compensation for my academic skills and intelligence. So, and hopefully apply some of that theater and engagement, because you're still working with people and engaging them on that level.
Sarah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, SB?
Move to Pittsburgh. Other than move to Pittsburgh, I'm going to keep writing and keep playing and just go on as Sarah Beth. I kicked around using Indian Summer Jars, but with the name and with all the fan base we've built up, it was a hard decision to come to, but it's just not going to be the same without Sarah. So
we might do some reunion shows, though.
Yep.
Nice. I mean, that's what school breaks are for.
Yeah.
Pretty
and
much.
Pittsburgh's not that far. I mean, we have a couple really cool prime gigs we do every year. A few like Flavor Fest out at the Renaissance Fairgrounds out there. And
very nice.
So we'll try and
I will
keep,
definitely travel for that.
Yeah. So we'll be on the
Jeffrey
radar,
Hamill.
but we'll just be like over here.
And then we can also just look for the Sarah Beth dates.
Yep. Yep.
Nice.
You can come follow me. I mean, I definitely. We took a break over the winter, which was good for my writing. So, been writing more and better. It's always getting better. At least, you know, that's what every artist thinks. Their latest thing is always their best.
So you need to go off into the corner and get into the space to do the writing for the songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because when things are just crazy and busy, you can't get to that creative center. And when things are still and you can get some space, and it gets where you can really connect with yourself and feel what's going on, reflect, and then express about it. So.
And what about you, Kelly? What's next for Kelly?
Oh, I'm not stopping. I mean,
Kelly's on the move.
I had 4 gigs last weekend with different people, and
The whole world needs a drummer.
yeah. And I have other things going on. You know, I play with my friend Troy. I play with my friend Mike, and Mike Mills from American Holler.
He's super cool, Mr. Rural Radio.
Yeah. I play with my friend Soji. He's
Soji, a former show guest.
yes.
Oh,
yeah.
hello.
He and I are playing at White Rose and Bistro in July.
Nice.
And I mean, I work full time, so you know, this on top of that, it's like 80, 90-hour weeks of constant busy
Wow.
busy things and band practices and everything else.
So what has kept all of you with having very flourishing careers, with having to find separate time to write and perform? What's kept you guys in it? What's kept the passion alive for you after this much work and after this 90-hour week? Like, what makes you able to play one more show? What makes you want to play one more show?
We're insane.
It's
It's a lot different. It's a lot different kind of work playing music.
I'd say it's Sarah's songs. They really are that addicting that you can't help it. They're that good.
Wow. That's pretty much a highest compliment
Yeah.
paid on stage ever.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
I'm glad I
here
inspired
if
you
they
guys.
weren't great songs. I wouldn't be here. So
Yeah, so you can be really tired and work a 10, 12-hour day, and you get to the gig and you start to play, and it kind of takes you out of your body in
Absolutely.
in its own way. And
Yeah.
Also, like Sarah Beth and I, we've had this great dynamic. We're polar opposites. She's a Virgo, I'm a Scorpio.
Interesting.
how do we make it work
For the
so
last
long?
like 7, 8 years, it's like we used to kind of warm up for the gig playing some hacky sack to just, because it's something I'm terrible at, but it's just something to make you laugh and throw off the stress from the day. But it really is music therapy, and it has been music therapy in addition to friend therapy, and we've just really built a great friendship over the years too. I'm gonna miss you guys so much.
You spend a lot of time in the car with your bandmates.
Yeah.
And you learn about the things you love about each other, the things you don't love about each other, and you become a family, and you really help each other out with a lot of different things. you might
And we
not
do have our
expect, so-
ISJ fun days. Let's not
we do.
forget that.
Oh, yeah. We have 2 or 3 gigs in a
ISJ
day.
Fun Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morning gig, evening gig, where we just hang out all day.
If there's a double header, we'll find something fun to do in between because it doesn't make sense to go home.
Right.
So if we have like an afternoon show, the one day we went to Shanks Mare, we wanted to go kayaking, but it rained terribly. So
And there are white caps on the river.
yeah.
Yeah.
So instead we hung
didn't
out
you?
in their little cafe and we played cards, and it was like summer camp almost. It
We
was
actually
really
played
cute.
cards from one place to the next. It was
Yeah,
kinda
then we hopped
interesting.
over to John Wright Restaurant and had a beer and played some more cards, and then we went out to McCleary's. It was fun.
It's a tough life being a musician.
Yeah, yeah.
Hard.
You got to find that fun time to bond, to make
Right.
the other parts work, because you can't just come in and not be connected.
Right.
And that comes across on stage, especially, well, a lot of people don't do harmonies anymore the way that you do. Now, I know you write the lyrics that come from a very personal place. What's the process that you guys go through as a group to turn them into such a carefully orchestrated, instrument-based, tight harmony-based song?
A very stern leader.
I get the whip out.
No,
All right, guys.
Well, we all kind of help with shaping that, because what is our producer said that, like, I'll stay straight and you waver. So, yeah, we
kind of-
use our fake British accents when we talk with one of our producers,
Yeah, we
Stephen
have to.
Courtney.
We've become pretty good at learning the new songs. Like it's Sarah, really, she'll just get out her phone and record me just playing it, and then she's able to send it to Kelly, and then they'll both study it at some point throughout the week. And we kept on a really good, 1 practice a week regimen for a while, and then playing, 3 shows a week, 4 shows a week for a while. You just become
Kind of like practicing while performing.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it
It
is.
really
It
is.
is.
And you
Yeah.
can kind of start to guess where their next step is going to be. You start to learn people's flow and kind of where they are, and you can really,
Yeah, I
learn how
mean,
to
because I
create
already
something.
kind of know how her style is and everything, it's very
Yeah.
easy for me to come up with the harmonies.
Yeah, she'll have them like in an instant. I'm
it's
like,
always
how'd you do that?
4, 5, 7, 3.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
Playing on stage is just like having a conversation. You have to know how to speak. It's like music is a language in that sense. So,
And you guys had to learn each other's language, but now you're like those feral children that have your own language that you can speak in.
Right.
Plus, I studied psychology in my former life.
Right.
So I've got all kinds of bizarre case study examples.
I actually know the one that you're referring to.
Nice.
Of course I do. Well, I'm so glad that you guys came on and shared not just the beautiful music, but also what it really feels like to become a part of a musical family and a group. And I'm really excited to see the Indian Summer Jar reunion tours and what you guys do next. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Carla.
Thanks.
Yay. Now, our video of the week this week is Sonia Renee, who's an amazing spoken word artist who performs mostly in the Baltimore and DC area, but we're doing everything we can to get her up here. Check out her message in our YouTube video of the week, My Body Is Not an Apology, by Sonia Renee.
The body is not an apology. Let it not be forget-me-not fixed to mattress when night threatens to leave the room empty as the belly of a crow. The body is not an apology. Do not present it as disassembled rifle when he is yet to prove himself more than common intruder. The body is not an apology. Let it not be common as oil, ash, or toilet. Let it not be small as gravel, stain, or teeth. Let it not be mountain when it is sand. Let it not be ocean when it is grass. Let it not be shaken, flattened, or raised in contrition. The body is not an apology. Do not present the body as communion, confession. Do not ask for it to be pardoned as criminal. The body is not a crime, is not a gun, is not a lost set of keys, a wrong number dialed. It is not the orange burst of blood to shame white dresses. The body is not an apology. It is not the unintended granule of bone beneath will. The body is not kill, is not unkempt car, is not a forgotten appointment. Do not speak it vulgar. The body is not soiled, is not filth to be forgiven. The body is not an apology. It is not a father's backhand. It's not mother's dinner late again, wrecked jaw howl. It is not the drunken sorcery of contorting steel round tree. The body is not calamity. The body is not a math test. The body is not a wrong answer. The body is not a failed class. You are not failing. The body is not an apology. It is not a cavity. It's not a hole to be filled, to be yanked out. It's not a broken thing to be mended, be tossed. The body is not prison, is not sentence to be served, is not pavement, is not prayer. Do not give the body as gift, only receive it as such. The body is not to be prayed for, is to be prayed to. So, for the evermore tortile 10th grade knows, hallelujah. For the shower song throat that crackles like a grandfather's Victrola, hallelujah. For the spine that never healed, for the lambent heart that didn't either, hallelujah. For the sloping pulp of back, hip, belly, Hosanna for the errant hairs that rove the face like a pack of wild wolves, Hosanna for the parts we have endeavored to excise. Blessed be the cancer, the palsy, the womb that opens like a trap door. Praise the body in its blackjack magic, even in this, for the razor wire mouth, for the sweet God ribbon within it, praise, for the mistake that never was, praise, for the bend, twist, fall, and rise again, for the raising like an obstinate Christ, for the salvation of a body that will bend like a baptismal bowl, for those who will worship at the lip of this sanctuary. Praise the body, for the body is not an apology. The body is deity. The body is God. The body is God. The only righteous love that will never need repent.
The artist joining us this week is a homegrown Muddy Forks local boy, James Tompkins. But his sculpture has a huge reach. He's even been at my favorite museum of all time, the American Visionary Art Museum, which, I mean, if you don't know what kind of accomplishment that is, all you need to do is see his artwork and how it speaks for itself. James, welcome to the show.
Hi.
I am super excited. Uncle Jim.
Yeah, it's a nickname
Is that
I
your
got
your
years
preferred
ago.
moniker?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the artwork that you brought with you, because we've had a lot of visual artists who've joined us, but you, while very much a visual artist, are not necessarily, let me put your painting over the couch in the living room. It's got a whole bunch more going on than that. Tell me about this this guy here. What is the story behind this? Where did this come from? Because I know you said it's a profound political statement.
It's actually an anti-violence statement in the end, because I was mugged, lost part of my foot through it.
Wow.
And I was very stressed out, angry, and that's how I got out all the negative energy into this.
Wow. So now what in this piece, where did the mugging transmute into choosing the game pieces and the Scrabble pieces, and why the shape of the person? Or it just happened all in your head, this creation?
I got mugged by 6 black teenagers.
Okay.
Random teenagers. Just, I guess, over a cell phone. And I was that frustrated. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. Because after you go through that type of trauma, you don't want to go back to the place, and you have to work it out somehow, and you don't want to be on the level of the people who, you have to rise above it somehow.
True.
And not become, somebody that's bullying or hurting other people because you were hurt.
You have to break that cycle at some point.
Yeah, and I did it through art.
Which you said
is positive, not negative.
Nice. A force of creation rather than destruction.
And I was just, you kind of lose faith in humanity when something like that major changes you. If you go through trauma like that, or lose a part of your body, somebody has to go through it, or unless they've been a victim of violent crime, rape, or any type of that, they will never understand it. It totally changes you.
Changes everything.
Yeah, and that's how I got it out, because it was like, well, this is the American dream here. The little house was that,
Right.
And
Right.
I thought, well, if I could just get to San Francisco, I would have more freedom and diversity, maybe, to express myself. I don't know, that's why that's there, whatever. It just evolved.
It worked inside your head, and it came out as a way to express yourself.
Yeah.
Do most of the pieces that you create have a personal story behind them?
Yeah, usually.
Really? All right, let's pick. I'm obsessed with this. Now, you do your specialties, you do found objects, like actual real functional objects, like belt buckles, like pieces of jewelry, like cigarette lighters. And then it's combined with found materials.
Yeah.
You find the stuff anywhere, just toys and pieces of jewelry and crystals from the Salvation Army, from the street, from wherever, and combine it with a lot of turquoise and silver and different gems and jewels. And how do you actually assemble it? What's the process you go through to make the pieces and hold them together? When you're especially using a lot of vintage materials or alternative materials.
It's like an epoxy and a glue.
Okay.
And it's...
Now, this one, which I know we have a gorgeous picture of with the griffin, this is a belt buckle.
Yeah,
underneath
that's the biggest,
this gorgeous
best one I ever made. That took a long time.
Now, was this originally a belt buckle, and then
there was 2 belt buckles,
applied?
and ironically, I wore it so much that I had to replace the back.
Okay, so tell me the story behind what's inside this.
Some of it is stuff I wore in the 70s when turquoise was big in the rock band, everything. It was like a counterculture thing going on in the 70s when, late 60s and the 70s where, grow your own food, make your own art.
Right.
I think it's kind of coming back full swing again, maybe.
It is.
And they were in the Native American. I was always in the Native American culture and that type of stuff.
And what is the meaning behind the images? You have a lot of mythological images. I noticed a lot of your work, clockworks and crystals and a lot of animals. And
well, I'm a
like
big animal
spirits.
lover, and I love cats and dog animals. And there's a lot of different meaning on here. Some of the stuff I had as a child.
And saved it.
And
Pack
more.
rat, huh?
Yeah,
Pack
I'm
rat
one
jewelry.
of those sentimental pack rats.
Now, this necklace is almost a little creepy, and we have an image of the skull. I've noticed you have several skulls and almost Day of the Dead type imagery that works through several of your pieces. Where did that come from? What's the influence of that in there for someone who's so focused on positivity and creation?
Well, this I was reading, and it's political. I was thinking, do you put people on death row? They're lined up. That crow's there, and I called that death row. It's just, the prison, the systems, filling people up and not always getting to the root of the problems. And that was just that day and one and over. There's
so once you're able to create a piece of art that expresses a feeling, like when I saw this guy, the skull with the brain actually in his hand, it gave me chills. There was something so just in your face about it. And I was like, but I love that. Now, is that when you feel an emotion, you can put it into a piece of jewelry and then you're done with it? That's how you get it out?
Hundreds of ideas in my mind. This was, I get so frustrated with technology and keep watching how, the world's changing. And I actually found this little brain surgeon thing that would have been a doctor's, probably a pharmaceutical rep, and his head was broke. And the gears on the back represent technology and how I think we're screwing with our own heads with it. Our own brains are getting taken over by technology that we can't even think for ourselves anymore. That's where I went with that.
Wow.
If that makes any sense.
So what is the favorite piece of work that you ever created? Do you have something that you're just absolutely obsessively in love with?
Probably this. That.
The fabulous breast
Yes.
bust that we have the slide
bust,
of.
it's
Now, what's the
oppression.
story behind that?
Well, that was created middle 80s, in the 80s. Yeah, I was an AIDS caregiver.
Wow.
And it was called GRID then, and nobody understood it. There was no help.
Right.
And I had a partner at the time that was dying, and I'm negative. I was negative, and I'm still negative. And the triangle in the middle is what they put in Nazi camps in Germany. And if you were seen as an artist, anybody that didn't fit
It
in
was
that
not just
profile
Jews
of
that
the
were profiled. It was
superior
gypsies and travelers.
race, you were nothing.
Right. Artists, homosexuals, gypsies,
Yes.
travelers.
And yeah, even the music. I mean, they burnt books, everything. Anyway, I just felt really impressed, and I went with. I like stuff that has like action and it's fun. It's got to be fun. It's not as much fun. But the black and white dominoes was like the judgment, black and white. Like I was being judged constantly, and I knew I hadn't done
no
anything.
room for gray, no room for,
no
for difference.
acceptance,
Everything
no
is black
color,
and white.
no nothing. There was no color, there was no, at that point. You were just judged and condemned for no reason.
Wow.
When you knew you'd done nothing.
Right.
But be human. That's why. And the more I got out of the black and white, it got more colorful, and I worked through it.
Nice.
Got it out, just like this piece. So when you see me getting into this world, that's when I'm going through a traumatic change in life. That's something really major has happened.
Now, and you said you have been creating art in different incarnations since you were in high school and came from an artistic family. So this is
Not
just
really. My family wasn't artistic.
a photographer, Uncle Keith.
No, that was an uncle. my family were all welders and
so
farmers.
you combined the practical, the hard this is the tools of the trade and combine that with an artistic sensibility. Do you think being a farm boy had to do with why you work in hands-on material as opposed to more imaginary stuff?
Yeah, because it was 90-acre chicken farm. And if, there's, 5 kids, 3 to a first marriage and me to the second, and you got 90 acres to run on, and you go out in the woods, your imagination just, it was a different time. 50s, early 60s, you could just run in the woods, get lost.
Right.
You had a party line phone. You knew which family, what kid was at. There was no question. There was no cell phones. You got lost. They knew where you were.
So having been a part of the art scene in the York area, because you are, a York born and bred, and you've been, even going as far away as Baltimore, you've still stayed in this area. How have you seen the art scene change? What do you think now when you go downtown and you see the galleries and you see the artists that are producing art in York now, as opposed to when you were working and it was a completely different environment when you were first starting?
It's gotten a lot better.
You think it's better now?
Yeah. I wish the arts district was bigger.
Yeah.
To me, the more, the better, but that's me. The more music, more art, the better.
Definitely.
The boundaries should be extended on the comprehensive plan in the city to pull in more. And
art.
Even the artist homestead program should be extended further. Less, walls to get through, to create and just be yourself.
Now, I know we were talking earlier about that you are in love with the ideas, with the concepts, with the execution of the art, with finding, the lighters and the vintage jewelry and the things to put together, that technology is not really your thing, that the technical aspect of the publicity and the management and all that is not your thing. How do you reconcile being such an artistic and conceptual personality with having to put together the art, having to find the shows, having to market, having to price things? I mean, especially doing such custom work when you work with people. I mean, you're doing contracts and negotiations, and how do you make that work?
Juggling act.
Do you ever feel like it makes it harder for you to make your art?
I don't have a hard time thinking in my head what I want to make. It's so full of things that I'm scared I won't be able to get it all out. It's that intense.
Wow.
There's so many ideas that I can't do it fast enough. And something happens and it's a setback, or I don't know how the computer skills I should have, and which works for me in some ways.
How so?
Being stuck in a time warp and because I don't go online and copy stuff. There's no, I am not going on I don't even know what these things
It's not about what's the latest trend, what's the latest Twitter trend, or what's the latest Etsy art trend.
I don't even think about that. I just do what I want to do.
So your style, you wouldn't say it was influenced.
I'm trying to stay true to myself and still make money, be known, but not sell out to the point I'm making just to be, fit in. Because I've never been that. I don't know any other way. It's like the more someone would tell me, you have to do it this way. That's okay if it's a customer that wants a commissioned piece and they give me personal artifacts they want in it, fine. Right. I'm gonna put it together and I'll be so perfectionist, I'll drive myself nuts. But I don't. I have thousands of ideas of things I'd like to make.
And it's just about making sure you stick around long enough to have the time to get them all out there. I mean, the world needs more French fry earrings, because
I think so.
These are pretty fabulous, I must say. James Tompkins originals.
Wearable food. Wearable plastic toys people throw away when they're children and tired of them, and they end up on the sidewalk or on the street or
in
Goodwills.
A James Tompkins piece of priceless.
It's fun.
Legendary art.
I think it's fun because I like to go that direction, just have fun with it. I can't be all serious all the time. I mean, you can get into, icons and deep mythology stuff, and then it gets okay. Getting
Overwhelming.
too
I
serious
need a
now.
break.
We're gonna have fun now. We're gonna make some crazy stuff, like vegetable earrings and jewelry.
Well, thank you for coming and having fun with us
Yeah.
on the show. This is beautiful.
Thanks.
Beautiful stuff. Thank
It's
you.
actually the first time I did this. I mean,
What?
live.
Well,
Other
not
than
live.
festivals.
Well, I'm glad you came then.
Well, yeah. It's a pleasure.
Now, one of my favorite things to do is head out on the street and catch the animal artist in their natural habitat. And this guy is an animal in the best sense of the word. Femi the Dryfish, from Baltimore and usually performs in the Baltimore, D.C. area, came up to York for an incredible show at Seeds of Sound, which meets every first Saturday at 8 o'clock at Club Q at 41 East Jackson Street. So make sure to check out that experimental music and poetry open mic and showcase if you have not seen it yet. But Femi the Dryfish and the Out of Water Experience, his band, was an incredible treat, and we were really glad they came to York. So let's check them out.
Greetings. I be the man who could be dropped in the middle of the ocean, yet not get wet. For I'm unlike no other. I stand out like a fish out of water, so they call me the dry fish. Hailing from Baltimore City, hailing from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, hailing from London, England, planet Earth, this universe, Scooby-Doo, yeah. I'm a poet, lyricist, MC, songwriter, recorder, frontman for Femi the Dryfish and the Out of Water Experience, which is like a soul, lyrical, hip-hop, funk rock band. We just get crazy, nasty, break through all the barriers. Any stereotype you think of, we just kick through the door like and walk through. And we have fun. That's the main thing. No matter what, we have a good time, because anytime I might die, I want to make sure my last moments was with a smile.
What's going on? York, PA. Been a while. Four lights scratched out. Never been in love before, but he loves home and likes to keep count. Bring out real signs, prove there's no other among thieves. While my thoughts cross the street, black couple black rain, flying from the murder feather. Souls of God's grace, making sure we're on earth for any means. Anchors on both legs, cause no one ever held us down. Who walks around lawless to notice. Imitation the top or conspiracy drive. So we heard the shots. Drop, let's not say the quarter block. Leave the rest, steal the calm to the red. Please don't save me before I end up dead.
I want them to be open to something different. And I say that because, not saying what I'm doing is so unique. Like, oh my God, it's a guy with a microphone making a bunch of noise in front of a band. Trust me, there's a few people who've done that before. Few, maybe two. But I do want them to, by being a poet, there's a stigma of what people think poetry is. People assume, oh, it's poetry, therefore it's a snap in your finger feel, or he's here to preach to you. Nah, but I'm gonna share a few stories. I'm having a good time. I love lyricism, so sometimes I can write a whole song or a whole poem and say absolutely nothing, but do it well, and you'll leave with quotables, and you'll enjoy yourself. And sometimes I want to tell you something serious, and I want to tell a story. So I want them to be open to expect different things, and that's why I feel like art should always be. It should be an environment that you don't know what you're gonna get. Whether you are a poet, whether you do rock music, whether you're a hip hop artist, you should always push that wall a little further so that people aren't comfortable with assuming they know what they're gonna get.
I say represent, y'all say lovely. Represent, lovely. Represent, lovely. When I say represent, y'all say lovely. Represent, lovely. Represent, lovely. When I say represent, y'all say lovely. Represent, lovely. Represent, lovely. When I say represent, y'all say lovely. Represent, lovely. Represent, lovely. Represent, lovely. Represent, lovely. Every morning I wake up babbling like, what's happened and release the Kraken. Get lap dances from mermaids with big asses. Breathe a man in the mirror without breaking the glass, and I rise from the ashes. In my mind, I'm lavish, only in my mind. I love women for their brains because I'm a zombie and a cannibal inside. Eat her whole body, no matter the size, just to stay alive. Cause where I'm from, it's Molotov cocktails in the house for everyone. I do this for the rush. I do it cause I must. I do it for the lust. The difference between us is that you need approval to rock. And me, I don't give a Nothing's new. Cats being tortured for every speech they give, sons for their visions and dreams, and murdered for their beliefs. I'm an outlaw, guilty of never being silenced. No pictures available on my wanted posters. Use adjectives that are way more descriptive. Clone myself to deal with society. Now defected Xerox copies of walking these streets while laughing at my misery. I'm censored, deadly not for the use of profanity. I'm a walking curse. Folks be offended by my presence. Rumored to be the sickest, much iller than leprosy with open sores of pus pouring. I'm forever falling. I can't find rock bottom to hit it. My crimes feast in city. Flesh is within the belly of the beast. I rock with corn, never be digested. Ripped through the stomach like alien resurrected. One of 5 elements. Seeking the truth, found out knowledge the key. Opened up the door to peace, ended up preparing for war. Saw the inside of Pandora's box and realized now that we're living in a paradox where superheroes no longer exist, just frustrated vigilantes roaming free, killing the villains. If it were up to me, I'd shoot that damsel in distress. I learned early good guys get no respect. In fact, there's no such thing as a selfless act. Even God expects praise. Now religious zealots want to blasphemy. Bragging about being righteous only proves you lack humility. They've been screaming the end is near ever since the beginning, but you can't clock Armageddon. It'll probably make an appearance like a surprise party with just you present and everyone else missing. See, let it go. 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 If you want to move forward. We rock up here, right? On the 13th floor, we rock up here, right? On the 13th floor, we rock up here, on the 13th floor, we rock up here, on the 13th floor, we rock up because most families can't see through glass elevator doors. We stuck up here.
I got started, the year was 1476. No, about 98, 99. I started going to poetry venues with one of my homegirls, and I just liked the way the scene was nice. It was just a new form of expression. I grew up on hip hop music when I moved to the United States, but I grew up on rock when I was in England, pop when I was in Nigeria. So I've been around music, and no matter where I was always shifting to certain types of music, but I always kept what I enjoyed. I always brought it with me. So in England, I was a huge fan of Queen, Adam Ant, Rod Stewart, The Police, Elton John. Those are like people I really, really liked when I was in England. And then only to go to Nigeria where 80s pop was popular in Nigeria when I was there in the 80s, which was Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, Shalimar, Kool and the Gang. And those people I enjoyed a lot when I was in Nigeria, so I just added them to my pot. And then boom, came to the United States, and my one of my younger brothers who I met when I moved here, he was like, hey, you should check out this guy named LL Cool J. And then there was Chubb Rock. So I got, so pretty much what I have now, presentation-wise, sound-wise, is really a collection of what I've been enjoying all my life is music, but a lot of it is about presentation. I've enjoyed what things look like on stage. I write to perform. I enjoyed the poetry because I realized people were doing poetry and they were expressive with it, which was not what I thought poetry was. I thought it was very stationary and very intellectual, so intellectual that the common man should not be a part of this. And, I found myself in a poetry realm And even when I decided to start doing poetry, I was horrible for a long time. So much that some of my closest friends right now tell me to this day, oh man, I hated your stuff, and I hated you, and I wish you'd die. And luckily I survived. And I knew I sucked. I knew I was trying to figure out my voice because I didn't have the same background. A lot of the poetry that was around me at that time was a lot of pro-black, down with the man, the hood is bad, and I grew up, Edmondson Village in Baltimore, but, I came from England, Nigeria. My experiences were just slightly different, slightly different. So I was speaking from that, speaking from being raised I was in foster home in England, so I was raised by white people for the first 9 years of my life. And then only to meet my mother when I was like 9 turning 10, then moved to Nigeria where everyone was black. So it was like a lot of shifting and adjusting with my life, and that a lot of frustration in moving here where being different works against you. In the United States, it's about assimilation. Be the same. It's the Borg. And so I struggled with that, and that turned to a lot of darkness. I was like a goth kid in an urban environment, but I didn't look like a goth kid. But I draw, so I would draw, and all that came out. So my writing was very black and awkward. And it still is to this day. I just figured out how to enjoy it, and I figured out how to refine my work. So between 97, 98, by 2000, I got pretty decent with it to the point where people were inviting me to things, asking me to feature here, asking me to travel to present my work. And they were paying me, which was all right. So from that point on, by 2000, I was on the road. By 2000, I was on the road, my first album, and I didn't come home. I only came home to re-up on CDs. And I was just on the road nonstop. I was slamming a lot. By 2010, I started really, really seriously doing stuff with a band. I was part of a group called the Fifth L. And that's really what I've been doing. I was doing all up until 2010. 2010, we didn't break up. We're still the best of friends because his family pays me good money to be his friend. And David started to work on a solo project, and I started saying to myself, what would I do by myself? And I said, I'd be loud by myself. And I put a band together, and we started rocking out in front of rock bands. And even though our music isn't per se rock, but the energy meets rock. And we started getting down with 98 Rock. And they've been putting us on a lot of stuff, and we find ourselves in a lot of rock arenas rocking with them. So I know I was gonna be loud. I wanted loud music. I wanted to show off. I wanted to just be a spectacle on stage. And not that I wasn't doing that in poetry, but now I have a lot of people making noise behind me to do that, to help me with the sound. So that's pretty much the story, I think. I might have left out a few things, probably a whole bunch of things, but that'll be the tell-all book that I'm gonna come out with in probably 2046.
All right, right here. Right here. So I won't starve forever. Gotta let my khakis talk, to ignore whenever. So my heart's been too so hard, so I already starved.
Well, that's it, folks. Thank you for joining us here on the Corner of Culture in Maine this week. Make sure to find us on the web, wrct.tv. Just go to Channel 18, click on our show profile, and you'll find links to our Facebook, to our YouTube, to our Twitter. You can watch all our previous episodes. You can even order copies of the DVDs, all from the website. So make sure to visit us and send us your emails, your questions, your comments, or your suggestions for who you'd love to see profiled on the show, cultureinmaine@gmail.com. Thank you for being a part of the Culture in Maine family, and we will see you next week for more incredible arts and culture from the best county in Pennsylvania, your and my York.